What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another weekly 3D model. This week we're going to be making a sci-fi minigun. I had a lot of fun creating the model in the last video, so I thought we would create another hard surface model for this week, but this time being a sci-fi weapon. Now I used a few different images as reference, but while looking around online I came across an awesome piece of art from an artist named Igor Souza, and I decided to use majority of the ideas in his model and incorporate them into mine. So a really big shout out to Igor for creating some awesome art and also inspiring this week's video. And if you want to take a look at the reference, there will be a link in the description below. So I definitely got tunnel vision while creating this week's model. So I usually create these on my weekends, which doesn't give me much time, so I usually have to choose when to quit the 3D modeling part so I have enough time to UV and texture it before the weekend's over. This usually gives me just enough time to edit the video on Monday and then I can post it on Tuesday. Now this week's model went a little bit different because I kept on wanting to add different things to it and completely lost track of time, so I'm not gonna lie, I rushed a few things, especially when it came to the textures, just so I can get it done on time. I'm still really happy with how it turned out, but I definitely used up my whole weekend on this one. And another reason why this week's video is also just going to be a time lapse. Now I will jump in at a few places to explain some of the things I'm doing and the reasons why, but it's mostly going to be a time lapse for this week's video. Now one of my favorite things about this whole sci-fi futuristic theme is that I get a bit of freedom when it comes to those shapes. Even though I used a few images as reference, I didn't want to worry too much about copying them exactly, and I more or less just had fun with the shapes. Since it's the whole sci-fi theme, anything really goes. So let's start off by blocking out those main shapes and we can slowly build up our minigun. And as usual, things will look pretty bad for a while, but hopefully as we build up the shapes and add more objects to the scene, things will start to look a little bit better. Oh, and as always, the 3D model, working files, and real-time video will all be available on my Patreon. So if you're interested in seeing any of that, the link will be in the description below. So let's just continue blocking out our minigun. Alright, so here is the minigun in its finished form. Now, as you can tell, I decided to merge one of these over to the other side to create the other one. And throughout the whole texturing and 3D modeling process, I just worked on one side, and near the end of those textures, I just quickly jumped back into Maya, duplicated it over, and re-imported it for those final renders. Now, at the time of duplicating it over, what I decided to do was also add these small braces. So originally, it was just looking like this. And I thought it'd be realistic to add something that was helping support these guns or something that attached to these like Boolean holes we created earlier. So I just quickly added a few cylinders, positioned those into place. I thought it would just be fitting for the model. Now what I decided to do for textures was break this thing up into 4 groups for those 4 different textures applied. Now if you've watched the whole UV mapping process, which will be available in the real-time video that I'm uploading to my Patreon page, but you'll see I originally created 5 groups for the 5 different textures, but I thought that was quite excessive. For a gun like this, I feel like we could have less. To be honest, these 2 groups should have been combined, I feel, into one. But I was really rushing to get this done in time on the weekend, so I just decided to do 4 different groups for the 4 different textures. So let's open up the UV editor and I'll show you exactly what I did. So the very first group is the ammo and the tank, so basically everything that's highlighted here. The second group is the turret, as well as the laser or the little scope that's attached to it. I did a group for the motor piece, and a group for everything else, so all of the under armor, as well as all the tiny bits that are attached to the motor. Now, like I said, this probably could have been one, and if I went back to redo this, I would have combined these into one group. One less texture would have been nice, and it's always good practice to try to use the least amount of textures. But I just decided to go with 4 at the very end. Now, of course, like I mentioned many times in the video, I did rush this, especially when it came to the UVs and the textures, since I just lost track of time while modeling and I had a lot of UVs to do in such little time. So I definitely rushed some stuff. One thing in particular that I would like to redo if I could is this ammo strap or belt or whatever you call it. It's just, I quickly unfolded it and I didn't really spend time straightening it. And when it came to the textures, I added some striped kind of like linen or some sort of material pattern to it, and I feel like I could have had those stripes all in the same direction going horizontally. It would have looked just cooler in my opinion, and to achieve that I would have had to have a UV shell that was nice and straight. So that's one area or one thing that I noticed that I wish I could go back and redo, but everything else was pretty good. I mean, there are some areas for sure that I would like to fix if I had more time, but still turned out pretty good. Now all we need to do is export this minigun, jump over to Substance Painter, and we can start our texturing. Alright, so now jumping over to Substance Painter, we can go ahead and load in that FBX file from Maya. So just like we usually do on this channel, what we're going to start off by doing is just filling in all those empty meshes with some sort of material. Now, because I'm also trying to get this texturing process done as quick as I can, it's another great reason to just fill in these empty meshes with some sort of material, and it can help me start visualizing how everything's looking. And then after, when all those meshes are filled, we can go ahead and start tweaking things or reassigning different materials to different objects depending on whatever is needed or however I want it to look. So what you'll see I do is mostly using those smart materials. I'll just start assigning different materials to different pieces or different objects, and then we can slowly build things up. Now, because it's a sci-fi sort of futuristic model, I thought some sort of light blue, shiny, metal-like materials would be fitting for all of these pieces, as well as some sort of gold or bronze and just some flashy kind of shiny materials that, in my opinion, look sort of futuristic. It's really hard to say what futuristic sci-fi materials would be, but some sort of metal-like material. At least that's what I had visualized for this, so that's what we're gonna do. So like I mentioned, just gonna start off by assigning different materials to different meshes, not really worrying too much at the beginning of how everything's looking. Now I know there's a lot of things that just jump out as incorrect, but I don't wanna be too picky at the beginning. I just wanna fill in those meshes first, and then we can always come back and refine things and just adjust things until they look more like what we want them to look like. Oh, and one quick tip that you may have noticed that I did was switch my whole lighting environment to a studio light. So one thing about those other environment lights that, like the panorama one that Substance Painter presets for you, it comes with some sort of color from the light source. So in the panorama scene, it's coming from that yellow sun. So all your textures will have a hint of orange or yellow to them. which may look incorrect when you export those materials into a different program like Maya or Unreal where you're linking up the textures. It's not using that same light source, so that those colors you're looking at may alter very slightly, and that may be some of the reasons why you're seeing differences in your materials after you export them. So one way of avoiding that is by using a studio light. Studio lights only use white light, unlike the other environment lights that use orange or other light sources like the sun. This is only using white, so when you're visualizing those materials in your Substance Painter program, you're actually going to be seeing them more accurately to how they actually look. So you're hopefully not going to see any differences in those materials when you export them, and they're going to look more accurate to how you originally textured them to look in the first place. Anyways, let's just continue filling up these meshes with materials and we can slowly texture our minigun. Alright, and that is basically everything. That is the whole 3D modeling, UV mapping, and texturing process that I did to create this sci-fi futuristic minigun. I really hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. If you did, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to see more random weekly 3D models. And once again, a really big shout out to Igor Souza for the amazing artwork and the reference and inspiration for this week's video. And as always, a really big thank you to all of my Patrons for all of your continuous support. You are all amazing and I can't thank you all enough. Also, as I already mentioned, the 3D model working files and the real-time video, which includes the full UV mapping process, will all be uploaded to my Patreon page, which you can find in the link in the description below. Also, don't forget to check out our Discord server if you want to be part of the community or just jump in and say hello or have any questions. The link is also down below. Alright, thank you all once again for tuning into this week's video, and I will catch you in the next one.